So you told them what to do. You know that they can do it, and you're sure that they've done it before. And then in that moment, they don't do it. And you're thinking, well, that was dumb. But what if it wasn't? What if their choice actually made sense to them? Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to Next Season Podcast, episode 31. This is part two of a two-part series on why people don't do dumb stuff on purpose. In the last episode, we broke down the 6 situations of the reasons why people might do something that we think is really dumb, but they really had no choice. They had no other valid option. But what about when they do have a choice and they still make a choice or a decision that you wouldn't or that you think is really dumb? And that's what we're going to cover today. These are 10 reasons that fall into that other bucket. And let's break them down. And I bet and I hope at the end that you're going to stop using the word dumb when someone messes up. Just like the previous episode, the examples I'm going to share could be coming from more of a coach or parent perspective because that's who I am. If you're an athlete, like I was, it should be pretty easy for you to see how they fit for you as well. Let's jump into these 10. And then what we're going to do at the end is just like we did in the previous episode, we're going to put a label on this bucket so you know exactly why they might be doing this. And then I'm going to give you practical things that you can try instead to help these situations. So stay to the end for that. Let's jump in. Here are 10 more reasons that someone might do something that you think is really dumb. The first one in this second bucket is they don't know why they should do it. So they know the rule, they know the drill, they know the situation, but no one's explained the purpose behind it. And when people don't know the why, their brain simply doesn't engage at the same level. The brain is designed to prioritize relevance. What that means is, how do I know this thing you're asking me to do or expecting me to do is actually relevant to me where I'm at right now? That relevance is important, especially in the prefrontal cortex, which governs attention and decision making. So if the brain doesn't think it has all of the information it needs, or it's not meaningful, it's not relevant, motivation and focus fade, and they're just going to default to whatever they want to do. This is neuroscience. This is not attitude. This is not defiance. Simon Sinek said it best that when people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. This applies to leadership. This applies to coaching, parenting, and even to 12-year-olds of baseball practice. When they understand why something matters, it flips the switch. Effort and buy-in are going to increase. So yeah, you can think, well, we're baseball coaches, we're baseball players, we're not selling anything. Anytime that you're trying to convince somebody or lead somebody, coach somebody, you're selling them. You're selling them on a behavior, selling them on an idea. You're selling them on your methodology or your approach. Okay. And then, yeah, your intent might be to help them and help them win, but they have to understand why it's important. So let's say you got a catcher, right? You're doing blocking drills and you got a catcher that's not really putting in all the effort because he's trying to save his knees. You ask him, right? Like, why do you think we do these reps? And he shrugs. I don't know. Because you like torturing me, right? So once you explain the muscle memory and the reaction time under pressure to rely on those reps so you don't have to think about it, that you're dropping and blocking, and how the game can be won and lost on one pitch, and how you can control the running game and it runners advancing and keep force out. Okay. All of a sudden he gets it. And then he chooses to go hard. Or players skipping conditioning drills because to them, it's just running, it's just sprints, right? Or whatever conditioning drills you got them going on. When they realize it's about building endurance so they can stay mentally locked in late in the game or late in the season when other teams and other players are fading, that why starts to turn into preparing for that mission, right? And going for it, going all in. Or if you've got parents that are questioning a curfew or a phone policy or dugout rules about not coming in the dugout, instead of saying, because I said so, a good coach is able to say, we're trying to teach the boys discipline or rest, the importance of rest and proper sleep or having boundaries. Right? It's not about control. It's about helping them win on and off the field. When you start with that why, people stop complaining and you start to get commitment because motivation isn't just about doing the thing. It's about believing that the thing matters and is relevant to them and their goals. That's the first reason. Again, they don't know why they should do it. The second reason that someone might do something that you think is dumb is they think that whatever you're asking them to do won't work, or they have a better idea. Not that they're being defiant, it's just they believe their way makes more sense to them, at least where they're at right now. So if you got a pitcher that's shaking off your calls as a coach, you can be annoyed. But when you finally ask, he says he noticed that the hitter couldn't touch anything inside, right? And then you maybe test it. And maybe he's right. The coaches in that situation, check your ego a little bit. Say, convince me that your way is better, and we'll talk through it. In that kind of conversation, you build trust and build learning. Autonomy fuels motivation. There's a really good book called Drive, and it's an awesome book on the topic of motivation, what makes people tick, and how great leaders can motivate teams. And there are three main things that the author says combine that can lead to sustained motivation towards common goals or mission or team, whatever it is. And those three things are autonomy, mastery, and purpose. When you have an environment of autonomy, which means that you're allowing people to come with their plans, their idea, and they can own it, they're going to be more committed to the process. When you invite ownership, you get higher engagement. That's the second reason someone might do something that we think is dumb. They think what you're saying won't work, or they have a better idea. The third reason that someone might do something that we think is really dumb is because they think something else is more important. Maybe it's family time. Maybe it's recovery, physically. Maybe it's schoolwork. Maybe skipping a voluntary practice or a voluntary lift might not be about laziness. He might be heads down studying for a big exam and trying to protect his GPA. Or he just knows he's run down and he needs a good night's sleep. Players are constantly juggling invisible priorities, things that we don't see. Same with coaches, same with parents. Sometimes the most responsible decision can look like something else, but we can't be everywhere and do everything at once. If we want to be present, if we want our athletes to be present, then we need to empower that choice. And this is called value based decision making. The brain assigns weight to competing needs. So not showing up might actually be logical to them, at least in that moment. They think that something else is more important in that situation. The fourth, the fifth, the sixth, and the seventh reasons that people might do something that we think is really dumb are all very closely related. The fourth reason is about doing the thing that you expect them to do or you want them to do, but they don't have a positive outcome for doing it. So if working hard doesn't lead to more opportunity or appreciation or recognition, what's the incentive for them to work hard? You got a kid who goes all out in practice every day. He's hustling, he's busting, right? Nothing but full effort. But the coach doesn't notice. And meanwhile, there's a kid who jogs through the drills, who doesn't put in full effort, and he gets the starting job. Eventually, the kid that's putting in all the effort is gonna notice it, and that effort's gonna fade. The fix to this, of course, obviously, is to celebrate effort. It's to reward hustle, to let them know that it counts. Follow through on it. You cannot just say it. You can't just preach, "Hey, we reward effort," but then you don't show it. Okay? It's not what you preach, it's what you tolerate, it's what you show. Motivation is driven by reward pathways in the brain, especially dopamine. When there's no recognition, there's no repetition. The fifth reason, again, they're doing it, but if they do it, there's a negative consequence. So something about doing the right thing backfires. Here's an example. You got a player that's going aggressive for a ball in the outfield. They dive and they make a great play, but then they're told by the coaches that they were being overly aggressive. And the right play in that situation could have been pulling up and playing the hop. So he thinks about that, he internalizes it, and he stops being aggressive all the time. And then those pop ups or those shallow fly balls, he stops going for, even though they're plays that he should have made. Or you've got a freshman on the team that sees a void in leadership and he tries to step up and lead and set an example and do the right thing, but then he's shut down by the senior. And social threats like that can activate the same brain regions as physical pain. We talked about this in the previous episode. If trying hard equals ridicule or stepping up leads to getting shut down, the brain is going to protect itself by backing off. So those are the two things about doing it. There's no positive outcome for them doing the thing you want them to do, or there's a negative consequence for them doing the thing that you want them to do. The sixth and seventh reason are about not doing it. So if there is a positive outcome for them not to do the thing, you might think that's dumb. So the sixth reason that someone might do something that you think is dumb is there's a positive outcome for them not doing it. And this is one of the most overlooked reasons for non-compliance or inconsistent effort, especially in youth athletes. Because sometimes not doing the right thing, the thing that you want them to do, actually feels better or is easier or even rewarding in the moment. Not because the player is lazy or disrespectful. It's because the brain is actually wired to avoid discomfort or embarrassment or uncertainty. The classic short-term reward versus long-term reward problem. Our brain is wired for comfort. It's our default. This is why it's so hard for many people to do the hard thing and to be disciplined. It's because our brain says, take it easy. It's a survival mechanism. They might not ask the clarifying questions and drills in front of their teammates because they don't want to look stupid. They don't want to look like they don't know. And the positive outcome to them by not asking is avoiding embarrassment. Maybe they don't put in full effort in the cage or the gym because they don't want to be sore, or they don't want the discomfort, or they don't feel like they can do as well as their teammate. And so the positive outcome is ego protection and body protection. How many how many times do you have somebody that doesn't go all out because they feel like they're not, even if they go all out, they're not going to compare to somebody who might not be going all out and they get embarrassed. Or they break curfew rules or coach's instruction or try to get some laughs in a situation in front of their teammates or peers and get some recognition. And so they gain some attention or some social credibility, or so they think, right? Because that dopaminergic system rewards quick wins. It's the short-term thinking. The amygdala kicks in to avoid perceived threats like failure and judgment, discomfort, and embarrassment. That prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for reasoning and delayed gratification, isn't fully developed in young athletes, especially teenagers. So when there's a short-term benefit to not doing the hard thing, not doing the thing that actually makes them better, there's less embarrassment, there's less discomfort, there's more peer approval. And so the brain is naturally going to gravitate there unless leadership and culture intervene. So that there's a positive outcome for not doing. The seventh reason that someone might do something that we think is really dumb is there's no negative consequence for not doing. There's no accountability, there's no urgency to do it. You got a kid who skips optional workouts, who shows up late to team meetings and he's not hustling and no one says anything. And he keeps his starting spot. Why? Because he's got natural talent. He's a stud. So if he continues to get what he wants, that starting position, but he's not putting in the extra work, why would he change? And parents and teammates, this is not just the head coach's responsibility. Everyone has an opportunity and a responsibility to reinforce those standards. The brain is efficient. It avoids what it doesn't think matters in that relevance conversation. If no consequence exists, no change will come. The eighth reason that people might do something that we think is really dumb is they're dealing with personal stuff. I'll say it again. You don't want to confuse distraction for disrespect. Everyone, kids, parents, coaches, teammates, we all carry stuff. And sometimes what looks like laziness is actually emotional survival. Sometimes life throws stuff at people that derails their ability to show up. It could be a family issue, it could be mental health, it could be poor sleep, it could be financial stress. There was a situation where as a kid who was an absolute stud up to age 12, but then around ages 12 and 13, he just different. And we were thinking, is it puberty? Is it school? Is it just changes? He just fell apart. There was no effort. There was poor attitude. There was average play in the field. Turns out his parents were in the midst of a brutal divorce. He didn't have a stable home life. And it took years and a combined effort between coaches and teammates and eventually his parents to help him get back to that normal self. And he was able to turn around, but it was a rough stretch. We can never assume. Chronic stress shrinks that prefrontal cortex. Again, focus, planning, decision making, long term thinking, and it hijacks attention. And when that emotional overload kills performance, it's empathy and understanding that can bring it back. Ninth reason that someone might do something that we think is really dumb is all about fear. They're afraid. They're afraid of messing up. They're afraid of looking dumb. They're afraid of disappointing somebody. So they freeze. Here's an example of me doing something really dumb. Me, the mindset coach for athletes, who screwed up my own son a few weeks ago. He's been playing great. We had a tournament and had a 4-for-4 day on Saturday, home run, double, came up Sunday and he's still playing well. He's been swinging the bat really well, but he's been swinging at some high pitches. And so we had an umpire on Sunday that was not calling anything high. He had a really low strike zone. So we're all telling him, like, guys, don't swing at the high stuff. Don't swing at the high stuff. So before his at bat, between innings, he was due up. And I said, hey, bud, hey, and I'd say it jokingly, but I said, hey, don't swing at the high stuff or you're going to have consequences. Like, again, I'm completely joking. We're having fun. We have a great relationship. But in that moment, I didn't realize it. He thought I was serious. So he goes up, he gets down 1-2, and he looks at a called third strike. He froze because I scared him. So he was operating out of fear. I thought he did something dumb by looking at a called third strike that was right down the middle that he could have hit. He's been doing it all week. My dumbass scared him into freezing. Fear activates the amygdala, which suppresses motor cortex function, slows decision speed. So he typically would process that. Here's a pitch I can hit. I need to protect. I'm going to hack. But I slowed down his decision making to a point where by the time that the brain said go, it was too late. Even if they know what to do, that fear can scramble execution. So you need to build psychological safety. Let them fail without shame. We were able to laugh about it later, but that was a crappy moment for me and a reminder that even when we have those relationships, we think we can joke and lighten the mood and ease the pressure. Sometimes they don't. And with that in mind, reason number 10 that someone might do something that you think is really dumb, you might be wrong. Sometimes it's you. And this is huge for any leader working with athletes. It requires humility and curiosity and a growth mindset from the coach. You might be wrong. Sometimes the athlete doesn't follow your advice because they're right. This is a tough pill to swallow. When an athlete pushes back, freezes, or avoids or underperforms, there's a real possibility that you don't understand their experience, that you didn't ask the right question, that you projected your own bias, your own beliefs, your own mechanics onto them, or that you're coaching the player that you think they should be, not the one that they actually are. Let's talk about real quick what's happening in the brain for coaches and leaders. It's the prefrontal cortex versus the amygdala. It's the CEO of our brain versus the fear center. If your ego feels challenged by an athlete's response or a parent's response, your own decision making, that prefrontal cortex, can be hijacked by defensiveness or frustration, the amygdala, and you might have trouble processing that situation. You might subconsciously project your past, your experiences onto them and assume that what worked for you or didn't work for you must be the same for every athlete that you coach. You might have bias blind spot. So we're all blind to our own assumptions, our own biases. Even elite coaches fall into this cognitive trap of thinking that they're seeing the full picture and they're not, because nobody can be in somebody else's brain and get the entire picture. So, for example, there's a kid that refuses to pitch from the windup, right? You want to pitch from the stretch and you push it. You need to pitch from the windup. You have to pitch from the windup. Nobody on, pitch from the windup. But he's got balance issues or he's got past injury history. Or for him, he's just trying to simplify and just master pitching from the stretch. So he doesn't have to think about it when he does get a runner on. He's just executing the way he normally does. That's up to him. Great leaders aren't the loudest in the room, but the most curious. So if the athlete's way works better, even if it's not traditional, explore it with them. Innovation can often start with facing that resistance. Again, there's your 10. In the previous episode, I gave you 6 reasons that fell into that first bucket, which was the no choice bucket. These 10 are a little different. These 10 all make perfect sense to the other person. They have a choice and they chose to go their way. Why? Because it makes complete logical sense from their perspective. You may not agree with the logic, but it's there. And that's the point. If you're going to take these 10 reasons and you're going to put them in a bucket and slap a label on, this label is going to say logical reason, not dumb. People don't do dumb stuff on purpose. Sometimes they have no choice. Sometimes they have their own logic. At the beginning of the previous episode, I told you I was going to give you practical steps that you can take to help navigate these situations, to help ease that tension and frustration, help learn, help improve trust in relationships, to ultimately improve individual and team performance, including yours. And again, I come from the angle of a parent and coach, but this is for players too. Here they are, no matter the situation, no matter the relationship, whether it's in baseball, in business, in life, marriage, friendship, whatever it is, there's two simple but not easy things to do. Give the benefit of the doubt and seek to understand. It means choosing curiosity over judgment, especially when emotions are high or behavior doesn't make sense and we think that was dumb. It means slowing down long enough to ask, what else could be going on? Instead of jumping to conclusions, it means remembering that performance and effort and behavior are often shaped by things that we cannot see and choosing to lead with empathy anyway. These two actions, giving the benefit of the doubt and seeking to understand, can completely shift the energy of a conversation, a relationship, team, and a culture. As a bonus, I want to give you a few book recommendations that might really help drive this home, not only for this topic, but these are game changing books for athletes, for life, leadership, and they tie in perfectly to everything that we've been talking about. The first book is The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. And this is a book that's all about personal awareness and emotional discipline. It perfectly supports the ideas of giving the benefit of the doubt and seeking to understand. I know that if you read this book and you read about the four agreements, what they are, it's really, really powerful. It's a super easy read, very actionable, something you can go back to multiple times. Highly recommend that book. And it's going to help you understand and manage your own assumptions. It's going to bring peace to life. That's a really good one. The second book is Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink and Leif Babin. And this book reinforces the importance of taking full responsibility and ownership as a leader, but also as a teammate, as a parent, no matter who you are, you have an opportunity to take ownership, especially when things go sideways. This is I cannot, this has changed my life in more ways than I can say. I recommend, and actually anything by Jocko Willing, really good stuff. The third book that I'm going to recommend is Heads Up Baseball by Ken Revisa. And this is a go-to understand the mental side of the game. And I have a 2.0 version. There's the OG version. There's 2.0. Ken Revisa is the OG. Any mental performance skills coach in most sports, but certainly in baseball, I guarantee you they've been inspired, mentored, coached by the late great Ken Revisa. Okay, so it's about building awareness, control of thoughts. So many of the tactical things that I talk about in my program with my athletes come from those concepts. Okay. Again, it's improving your mental performance on the game, but it applies to life as well. It's going to make you a better player. It's going to make you a better teammate. It's just going to bring peace. So, highly recommend those three books. Again, The Four Agreements, Extreme Ownership, and Heads Up Baseball. Together, these books can help you build mindset, leadership, emotional intelligence, navigate hard conversations, to coach more effectively, to perform at your best. Okay. If you want more information, you want more help, I do individual coaching, I do group coaching and team coaching. I'm happy to go through that and get a very specific program for you. So hit me up, reach out, let me know how I might be able to help. Next time that someone does something that you think is dumb, remember, they probably had no choice or they have a logical reason, just like you do every time that you do something dumb. See you next time.